Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special podcast, uh, rightfully dubbed the Beatle Hour, or probably going to go more than an hour, but still, um, with, of course, Larin. The reason why is me and Larin, we are huge Beatles fans from our childhood. Larin, I will let you tell your story first. How did you get introduced to the Beatles? And this podcast is also dedicated to both mine and Laren's fathers.
Yes. Um, to Peter and Larry.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, they're like the biggest band in pop culture, so everybody knows the Beatles.
Yeah. They only made like a few albums and stuff. Only a few.
Right, exactly. So you always know of the Beatles, but my parents didn't really listen to the Beatles around me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people who say they're not into the Beatles because of their parent. They're like, that's my parents' band. I'm not into them because of that. You're kind of the opposite. But yeah, I one day at Best Buy, I picked up
Good old Best Buy.
Picked up this CD. It was like $5. It was on sale.
That's a great
And
album too. If you want like a full rundown of like basically it's their number one singles, right?
Yep.
If you want a basic rundown of all their singles, that's a great album to go with.
Exactly. So I listened to this. I was like, okay, that was good or whatever. I kind of put it to the side. I didn't listen to it much. Excuse me. And and so I was like, yeah, whatever. Like that was cool. I'm maybe gonna get more into them, but it wasn't until I think I was like 19 and I bought A Hard Day's Night on Criterion during one of the sales. And that is how I really got into the Beatles. It was through A Hard Day's Night. Mm-hmm. And I've had people be like, that makes perfect sense for you, dude, because you're more of a film fan than a music fan, really.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was hooked after that. I started buying all their albums just periodically, just every once in a while I would get another one. I have all like the core 13 albums now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I just started. I think they're the most interesting band in rock and roll to read about. Mm-hmm. Just everything when it comes to anything, like just getting their start, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah.
To all the way to like the Paul is dead thing, which is obviously he's not dead. Just so everyone knows, I don't think he's dead.
The people that believe in that conspiracy theory I don't want to have interactions with them.
I know.
For good reasons.
Yeah. I do think the earth is flat. No, but it's the same thing, right? It's like that is such a... Anyway, but it is interesting to read about because there are certain things in their albums like backwards lyrics and different certain little things that they clearly put in there on purpose that people will contribute to that Paul is dead theory that are just there. And that's another thing that makes them such an interesting band.
It really is.
What about you?
We got Jared in the chat. We got Tony.
Tony.
For me, it's the complete opposite. I was probably about 8 or 9 when I was going on like I forget where my dad and I were going, but he was just listening to the Beatles a lot. Not only them, but like the Beach Boys. Beach Boys was like his favorite band though, because he was actually a surfer and he actually saw them in California. So
that's awesome.
I think that's pretty cool. And back then it was only like $10 for a concert ticket. I wish it was still $10 for concert tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really like the music, but I didn't like stick with it. It was back at the time where I don't.
You were on a road trip?
Not so much a road trip, but like I think it was like for like something with Boy Scouts because my dad was the scoutmaster. and stuff
Okay.
like that. So we were probably going on a camping trip or something like that. And I just remember really enjoying the music, but I never like got any of the albums until I was probably like probably 12 or 13, but I didn't fully get into them. Ironically, there was a Beatles tribute band playing in my local area. It was specifically Beatlemania. And that was like my first real exposure to them, was seeing essentially them in concert,
Right.
which, I mean, Paul wasn't left-handed. uh,
Yeah, yeah.
but it was just, it's as close as you could get to a Beatles concert, like in at that point. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, did they sound like them? Sure, but it's just, it was a cool experience. And if you are to see any of the tribute bands, I would recommend you see Rain. They're probably the best Beatles tribute band. Um, and the cool thing about that one is they incorporate a lot of their solo stuff. So, like, of course, Imagine from John Lennon. I think they did Band on the Run from with
You'd
Paul
have to.
McCartney, and
Yeah.
then I think they did. Trying to think the big one for George. Probably All Things Must Pass. I think they might have
Yep, that's
done,
it.
and
Yeah.
then Photograph with Ringo and stuff like that.
Yep.
Um, and then my dad showed me A Hard Day's Night. Loved that. And the cool thing about A Hard Day's Night is it was like a peek into the madness that was the Beatles touring at that point, because it sucked for them. They had really no way. Like, of course, in the movie they go out, but in reality,
Which is unrealistic.
they're
Yeah.
locked in their hotel room
Yep.
until it's time to go to the show, and then they go from the show to the next city. And that's basically what it was for a lot of performers back in the day. I'm pretty sure that's how it was for Elvis. Um, when he got,
Yeah.
like, when he was starting to get like red hot and stuff like that in the
Yeah.
50s. But
Mhm.
I've said it countless times, and I've said it to you. We will never experience a rock band as big as the Beatles ever again. There will never be anything like the Beatlemania craze
No,
in
absolute
our
phenomenon.
lifetime.
No, maybe never again.
Never. And I
And
kind of hope
so
it doesn't happen again, to be completely honest.
me
Because
too. Me too.
it's like it's lightning in a bottle. It'll never happen again.
Yeah, for sure. I sent you a picture, I think yesterday, of that girl in the crowd, like plugging her ears,
Yeah.
and everybody's freaking out, and she's the only one. She's just like, she can't hear him anyway. All she can hear is screams. So she's just like, no,
No. And what's even worse, she can't hear them and they can't hear each other.
no, it's no, it's just screams. That's it.
But
But
yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely a
so
hard
your
day's night.
dad
That
introduced you to
yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Sorry,
Hard Day's Night.
you cut
That's awesome. You
you
said,
cut
but
off a
yeah,
little bit there.
did I? Shit.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I hope my internet holds up for this. But yeah, God, yeah, Hard Day's Night. And you were saying about Help. Like you saw Help soon after then.
Yeah, because I think they just put out like the DVD not too long after the Hard Day's Night Criterion. I don't think Help was Criterion.
No, it's not. It's like a cool, almost like a box set though.
Yeah. And my dad showed me that, and I like Help the more out of the two because it feels more like a movie. Of course, with Beatles music videos thrown in the mix. That is a great.
I just watched this. Sorry, I just wanted to.
I mean, that's a great documentary series that they did. Besides,
Yeah, but I don't have Help to
Get
Show, but
Back.
I have that. Yes, I know. Yeah, speaking of Get Back, I did get this book as well as the DVD.
I did see that. Oh.
I've not opened this yet; it's still sealed, but I have it here, and I should read it. But
you don't read, so.
I do read.
Well, they do have pictures. They do have pictures in there, so yeah, you should be fine.
Oh my god, I'm like the only person in the crew that does fucking read. By the way,
I mean, I do read. It depends on the book.
I read a lot of fiction. Yeah, it's but that's a different stream. We'll do like a Stephen King stream or something.
Yeah.
At some point. But yeah, I think I like A Hard Day's Night more, but Help is amazing. I haven't seen Magical Mystery Tour. Really want
I've
to.
seen Magical Mystery Tour once, and that was enough for me. It's such a bizarre acid trip. Like, the Beatles are in the movie, but they're not playing the Beatles. They're playing other people. So it's weird.
That sounds interesting, though.
It is interesting, but it's also, it's very, very weird. It was during a lot of their acid trip days. So, I mean, they were doing. Yeah, that was the one where they introduced I Am the Walrus. So,
yep. I knew that.
Which is a great
song. Like, they were all, I think they're all credited as directors, but like Paul kind of took over.
Yeah.
And they were.
I think Brian Epstein had already passed away by then. So at that point, I think Paul was basically the quote unquote leader of the Beatles, even though it was John's band.
Yeah. Well, apparently on the film, he like stepped up and like he would stay late and come early and set up stuff. And
that's the thing with Paul is when he's set with something, he's all in like 100%. The other ones are just like, we're gonna go party or do whatever. Which, I mean, it was, I believe, 67, 68. So it was right around the time when they were about to start recording for the White Album. So they were kind of slowly drifting apart. Which I think, just the way the White Album is, I think they planned the White Album to be their last album, but it did so well. That's why they did Let It Be and all that stuff.
Yeah, Let It Be seems very much more lo-fi than the previous two, Abbey Road and the White Album.
Yeah. They did put out Abbey Road before Let It Be, didn't they?
Yeah. Which are our two favorites. Mine's the White Album, and yours is My Shirt.
Yep. My Shirt is their 1964 U.S. Tour.
Yes, that's awesome.
Which also, we're doing this podcast today because it is the, I believe, 50th or I got to do the math.
Yeah, 50. What year was it?
I believe it was 65. Beatles, Shea Stadium. 66. So it's the 57th anniversary.
57th anniversary.
Well, it aired on the 66 in 1966, but they performed in 65. So technically, it's the 57th and 58th anniversary of Shea Stadium.
Right. Of the premiere. It was on August 15th.
Yeah.
Yes.
which was the first stadium concert that a rock band did. And
Ever
without
did.
that,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have these giant stadium concerts that like Metallica does, AC/DC, any of these bands do. Without,
Foo Fighters and shit.
yeah, like
Yeah.
without the Beatles, rock and roll wouldn't be what it is today. That's where
Yeah.
I don't
For
get
sure.
where people are like the Beatles are are overrated. I mean, I could understand it, but without them and their influence on music, we wouldn't have any of the stuff
Yeah.
today. Like,
No, they paved the way for so many things.
yeah,
And
and
yeah.
and with their first appearance, like they all looked the same, and then as they essentially grew up, then they became
Yeah, because
individuals. And
they were like 20.
yeah, John was I think 25 when they came to the US, or 23.
64. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, he would have been, well, yeah, somewhere around there, definitely.
I know
24, 24 or 25.
George
But
was like George was like 19. So
yeah. Yeah.
like just
It's,
imagine that you're 19 years old and you're in the biggest band in the world at this point.
yeah. Paul was saying recently, he was like, we didn't think we were young. We were like, we had, we had everything, you know, we didn't consider ourselves young when we were like in our early 20s because we were at the
Yeah.
top of the world, you know?
Yeah, and with Paul saying that, you also have to think about because they were touring actively through Europe and everything like that before they even came to the US. And
Yeah.
it's just so fascinating everything that they did to like experimenting with music, especially during the Sgt. Pepper stuff. And that, well,
Yeah.
they kind of started experimenting with Rubber Soul, which is a great album.
Yeah. They wrote that after they met Bob Dylan and they smoked weed for the first time.
Yeah.
And they got in the studio and they changed. And a lot of people would call that the beginning of the druggy Beatle era,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, that's the best era. What do you mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, I think people back then were divided a little bit. And
Yeah.
then the whole bigger than Jesus thing, of course.
Yeah, where they took what John Lennon said out of context, where
Yeah.
they're basically treating the Beatles bigger than religion, which I have my own thoughts on religion. We'll have that debate another day. Uh, but
Yeah.
it's so baffling with how they did a complete 180. And it's like, we hate the Beatles now because John Lennon said this, even though that's not what he meant.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I mean, it was, you were saying, and I was watching the anthology, and the Ku Klux Klan were on the news being like, we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna attack the Beatles. Like, we're full on,
Which is
we're gonna
definitely one
attack
of the
them.
reasons why they stopped touring.
Oh, for sure.
Because
They
one
had
of
threats
the
constantly.
oh yeah, one of the stadium concerts they were gonna do was, of course, outdoor, but there was like a hill that was like perfect, like a perfect angle to like the stage. So
Like the
it's
grassy
like,
knoll and shit.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, one, they couldn't hear themselves. They hated touring the way their schedule was, and they couldn't really make the music they wanted to make with having to constantly tour and also try and put out basically an album a year is what they were doing in the early days. Because I
Yeah.
think it was like, Please Please Me. Well, that was before they even came over here. It was that
Oh
Please
yeah.
Please Me uh, with the Beatles. I'm trying to think if that was the
Maybe
second
Meet the
one.
Beatles.
Yeah, it might be that one. But either way, it's like every year they put out an album, which it's like is
Basically,
great.
yeah.
especially if you're touring all the time, because then you can perform all this stuff that people are listening to, but it's also nobody's hearing it, and it. Yeah, there's screams, but also the sound system at these stadiums back then were terrible. So,
Oh yeah. And they said like, when they came to the U.S., all of a sudden, "Please Please Me" was a number one hit, and it was like 3 years before. And
yeah,
and they were just having things come to light. They were like, they were surprised that a few of their songs that were like, why would that become a number one hit? It's just because you're so popular.
yeah.
anything they get a hold of, it's going to be a number one hit. So
There is no, my opinion, there is no bad Beatles song, except maybe "Good Day Sunshine," but that's the exception.
no, I agree. I like all their stuff. I don't know if I have a least favorite album. Of course, my favorite is the White Album.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
it's tied. It's like neck and neck with the White Album and Abbey Road, which the White Album was actually my dad's favorite album.
nice.
And
Yeah, I think it's the greatest
his
double
favorite
album.
song on there was "While My Guitar Gently Weeps."
Oh, obviously. Yeah, it should be. Yeah, for me, it's a tie between Savoy Truffle and Happiness is a Warm Gun.
Mine would be "Dear Prudence" and "Revolution" #1, not #9 when it's just, where it's just #9 looped
Number
over and
9? Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I love every song. I really do. So,
and they never have a bad sound, even when they were performing live. Even though they couldn't hear themselves, they still sounded pretty good. Considering the equipment that they had back then, they still sounded pretty good.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's live recordings.
He likes "Come Together."
Come Together, great song. I have a theory about that song. Everyone says it's about each verse is a different Beatle. I think they're all just about John Lennon.
Oh, absolutely. John Lennon wrote it. John Lennon wrote
exactly.
it.
But everybody's like, "Oh, all the verses are about a different one." And I'm like, "No, I don't think so.
It's just
they're
John.
all just him." yeah, for sure.
But it is a great song.
It is a great song. Oh, absolutely.
And the Beatles is the band that got me into guitar playing. Specifically, it wasn't so much George, but the way John would play the guitar. Like John's even said, he's like, "I'm not a great guitar player, but I can make it howl," which is just such a cool line to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, looking at the Revolution, the heavy version, he made it howl.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Even on Get Back, because originally George was supposed to be the lead guitar player for it, but he left, and John's like, "I'll do it."
Yeah,
and
I'm here.
And he fucking knocked it out of the park with that solo.
Absolutely. What did you think of Get Back?
The documentary or the song?
Yeah. Oh, both.
I lived and breathed that documentary. That is as close as we can get to being a fly on the wall for their recording sessions.
Yeah, thank you, Peter Jackson.
And to see that they were friends. Because there was so much stuff coming out about the Let It Be sessions that it's like they hated each other. They were always fighting. Yeah, they were fighting. But most of the time, they were just joking around.
Have you seen the Let It Be film that they put out where it was just basically clips of them fighting and breaking up?
I have not.
Neither have I, but I had a friend of mine. I was like, "Oh, you got to check out Get Back." And he was like, I don't want to see them fight. And I was like, they don't really actually, do they? Do they actually fight? They don't.
They have a couple of arguments, but it's nothing like the way the movie portrays it. Like, it's just, I feel like John, this is more of a personal thing. John, at the time, he was on heroin. I don't know. I don't remember if the documentary talked about it, but he was on heroin at the time. he was very self-conscious of how he was as a musician. And
Yeah, well, it's funny because they talked about it in the anthology. There was like a photo of him or whatever that came out, and somebody called him the Fat Beatle, and he just like almost for years barely ate anything because of that
yeah,
one article.
like if you look
Uh,
at John at the start and where he ended, it's a drastic change.
oh yeah,
And
for sure. Even at the end of
I
the
mean,
Beatles,
it's
yeah,
like the Fat Elvis stuff. Like that was, not to get away from the Beatles and talk about Elvis, but the the media is a heavy contributor to a lot of these celebrities to develop one eating disorders and other stuff that they don't, personal demons. Like you don't know what the person's going through. Like
yeah. I mean, it is
people
funny because
forget
people
that
think that
these celebrities are humans.
they're just people. They're just people, and they're put on a pedestal, and they're in the public eye, but they're just people. But
Yeah.
Elvis, his weight fluctuated a lot in those last few
Mm-hmm.
years. He wasn't just all of a sudden skinny and then fat.
Yeah.
His weight, he would know that he was going to be back on tour, or he would know that he was going to be back in the public eye, and he would lose the weight again.
Mm-hmm.
He did that several times. It wasn't
Yeah.
just a jump to suddenly being overweight.
Yeah. And and from what it seems like, since from what was it, the White Album, where you could kind of very much see the weight change with John, or would you say Sergeant Pepper?
Uh, I probably closer to Abbey Road and the White Album, right around that
Yeah, I
time.
was,
Yeah,
and from then until his assassination, he got skinnier and skinnier. If you see
he
the
sure did.
image, if you see the image of the last image of him alive,
He's
he's,
naked with Yoko.
no, not that one. Uh,
But that's also from the day he died. But yeah, I know what you're
I'm
talking
talking
about.
about the one photograph with the fuck face, and you see
Oh,
how,
that he took. Yeah,
yeah, that you can see how skinny like his face is and stuff.
yeah, yeah. He's pretty gaunt.
Mm-hmm. Um.
Yeah,
Anyway, to
it is so
deviate from
interesting.
like bad stuff, but
Very
his
interesting
life,
that he took so many photos the day he died and did all
yeah,
those things. It was a very interesting day for him. And
mm-hmm.
then, but yeah, we'll get off it. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about both his and George's passing later.
Okay.
But back to the Get Back documentary, like they were friends, and
Yeah,
yeah, the
there's that
breakup.
scene where they don't have any video, but it's the audio of uh Paul and John talking,
Mm-hmm,
and it's just audio. They had put it like in a flower pot or something,
mm-hmm,
and then they went and sat by that flower pot or whatever it was, like around a table, and talked about how George had left. That
yeah,
was like that got me, man. I was like, that
yeah. And it
this
was John
is
talking about his insecurities as well. And John had his issues, but I feel like the connection that him and Paul had was one of those where he could let his guard down and be vulnerable,
yeah,
instead of like the tough guy like John Lennon and stuff
or the
like,
Joker
yeah,
that just yeah.
where he could let his guard down and be himself and talk about his insecurities with Paul.
Yeah, and it's funny because they both own up to it immediately in that little segment. They're like, he was just, we're making him feel a certain way, and they knew it, and they like totally owned it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't malicious, and yeah.
Oh, Gus.
Hey, Gus, how
Uh,
are you?
although, according to Men in Black, Elvis was an alien, so he just went home.
Yeah, he just went home. Famous line.
uh,
What are your thoughts on the Beatles, Gus? Just curious.
he said earlier he loved the Beatles, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, anthology. If you don't, well, it's actually kind of hard to find the anthology DVD set now. Like it's so rare.
Well, I think I saw one on eBay recently for like $24, and I was like, if
Really?
I were a bunch,
Wow.
so you should be able to get on eBay pretty easily now. Yeah, the
But
VHSs are really rare though that you used to
yeah,
have. It's
I
awesome.
used to have them. Yeah, my dad got them for me for a gift. Um,
It's awesome.
but um, now, would you
Yeah, hop
listen
on eBay.
to? I'm not. I don't know. I'm hit and miss with eBay sometimes.
Yeah,
But
but I'm sorry, you were saying.
I was saying, like, when you were getting into the Beatles, would you listen to them with your dad, or would it just kind of be your own kind of thing that you would do?
Um, I wouldn't listen to them with my dad, but I would tell him, "Hey, I just listened to this or this." And he had right around that time where everybody in the Bible Belt was burning all of the Beatles albums in giant bonfires.
Mm-hmm.
He had a friend who had all the Beatles albums, and their parents were going to make her burn them.
Oh wow!
And she wanted to give them to my dad, but also his foster parents were he knew that they were not going to have that in the house,
Yeah.
so he couldn't take them. But I was like, oh, I wish he would have taken them. He would have had all the albums. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we connected over the Beatles just by me telling him, hey, I listened to this or that, and because he grew up in that era, so he knew everything I was talking about.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm alone. I listen to stuff alone.
It depends on like my mood. Like there's times where I want to listen to stuff alone, or times when I'm in a group and I'm like, hey, this is really cool. You should listen to it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I did shoot you a message the other day for a question, and I thought it would be a cool idea if it happened at Live Aid, which if barring John didn't get killed, it most likely would have. If the Beatles reunited at Live Aid, what would their set list be?
I don't know. And I was like accompanying musicians, and you're like, I don't think so. And I was like, I don't know. I really don't. That's such a hard thing to try to predict.
Well, I've been thinking about it for a while. So they would start with Come Together. So
Yeah.
that would be the first song that they would play. And then they'd go back to doing like an older song, which I feel like
Mhm.
they might do like I Feel Fine.
Okay.
They've played that one quite a bit live.
Yeah, for sure.
Then they'd go to a George song, which would probably be If I Needed Somebody or Someone.
Hmm.
And the next one would be probably Revolution. Then they'd switch to their solo stuff. So then it would switch to like Imagine, Band on the Run, all these other ones. And then they would finish it with The End.
Nice.
That's how I think they would have their set list.
Wow. That would have been amazing. It's unpredictable,
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what? They could have thrown She Loves You in there. Everybody would have flipped their wig.
Yeah, or All You Need Is Love. If they had like an orchestral band or something like that, they could have done that.
Right, yeah. I
Because
was gonna
they
say
have a
if
little
you
bit of She Loves You in that one too. It's very faint, but you can
yeah.
hear it.
Hmm.
Have you seen the movie Across the Universe?
I have not seen that.
It's
I
actually a
should.
decent musical. Um, they don't try and copy like the Beatles sound. They make it their own way to fit the musical. And
Hmm.
each character is actually named from a Beatles song. Like the main character's name is Jude, of course. Hey Jude.
Of
Um,
course.
uh, Julia, I'm pretty sure that's her name. Oh no, Lucy. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Makes sense.
Sadie. Can't get
Sexy
any more.
Sadie.
Can't get any more obvious than that one.
I
There
love
was
Sexy Sadie, by the way. That is
then
phenomenal.
then the other main character is Max, which would I forget the name of the song.
A Maxwell Silverhammer.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a really well done musical. It's set in 1963, so like really in that heat of the Vietnam War and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it was really well done. They're apparently making a sequel to it, but it's like, what songs could they do for that? Because they did a lot of like a mix of like their older stuff and like the late 60s stuff. So it's like, what could they do?
Yeah. Well, they have a lot of stuff in there. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're right.
It's very, it's, yeah. But
Now,
yeah, I got to see that.
I'll do a watch along of it.
All right. Yeah, it's on Blu-ray. I need to grab it for sure.
Yeah, it's one of the musicals I don't mind sitting through and watching. It's not like a typical like musical where like Sweeney Todd or anything like that.
Uh-huh. Which you
Um,
also love.
yes, I do.
Yeah.
Um, now, I mean, I guess we can talk about the sad stuff. When did you? Obviously, we weren't alive when. Well, we were alive when George passed, but
Yeah.
where? When did you find out that John and George had passed away?
I think that I just always known that John
Mhm.
Lennon was gone.
Mhm.
That's a very famous thing that he was, assassinated.
Mhm.
George, I don't know if I remember. We were like 9,
Yep, it was
when that happened.
2001.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
2001.
so, yeah, I don't know if I remember actually hearing about that being that young. Maybe I did, but I don't remember hearing
Mhm.
about it. But yeah, it's just been, my whole life kind of pretty much, I was very young when it happened. So I just
Yeah,
have always known that. Do you remember when George passed?
I don't. I know my dad was upset about it because he really liked George's style of music, so that one hit him hard. Um, but he told me like he remembers the day Kennedy was assassinated. He remembers the day Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Yeah.
He remembered the day John Lennon was killed. And it was he basically described it as like almost like a dreamlike state. Like, is it real? Is it not real? Like one of those kind of things. Like it's a bad dream, and you're gonna wake up. He's fine. Unfortunately, he was not fine. Um, I have a lot of theories on that. I'm not gonna get into conspiracy theories with the John Lennon assassination. Was it a hit from the CIA because they wanted Lennon out of the United States because he was stirring up a lot of stuff? Could it be? Sure. Could it be
That's a
Yoko
theory
Ono?
for
Could
sure.
it be Yoko Ono being upset that he was probably going to divorce her? Sure. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. The only thing that is fact and not a theory is he was murdered by a crazed, I'm not even going to say fan, but a crazed individual who wanted nothing but to gain his fame. And I hope he's never going to see the light of day because someone would pop him off as soon as he walks out those doors.
Yeah.
Um, and
This reminds me of like Kurt Cobain as well.
mhm.
Of course, with Courtney Cox or Courtney Cox. Oh my God, Courtney Love. Sorry, Courtney Cox. Sorry, Courtney Cox. Courtney Love and everything, and it just reminds me because
Or
people
even
always.
Michael Jackson. I remember when Michael Jackson passed away.
So do I. Yes, I was old enough to definitely remember that day.
Like,
But it just reminds me of people always talking about Kurt Cobain and how where would Nirvana have gone and would he have gone solo and what would have happened, and it's just so hard to. It makes me sad to imagine. I don't know why it would make me sad, but it just makes me, of course, because it's never going to happen. But
yeah,
it, I can't imagine Nirvana going past that point, or or it just pisses me off so much, that
I mean,
they were
Gus, you
taking.
could have a point there. We'll talk about that theory another day. But yeah, I've seen like I'm pretty sure they showed some of like the visuals that a lot of people did when John passed, and like just people in
Oh
the
yeah,
streets just grieving over John, and it's like,
in
yeah,
front of the Dakota.
these people might not have known John Lennon, but at the same time, they kind of did because the Beatles, were the only band that kind of let people kind of behind the curtain a little bit. Like we didn't
Yeah,
fully know John and his personal issues until, of course, years after he died and he can't defend himself. But that's another issue that yeah. Um, and like you're, there's this person who you have listened to all these years and then he's just gone.
yeah.
And it sucks because learning more of this stuff, they were supposed to meet up to record something. Paul and the rest of the Beatles and John were
Mhm.
supposed to meet up and record something in the summer, but they had to postpone it to the beginning of 1981. And it's like we were this close to whether it was an album, just a one-off song, but this close to a Beatles reunion in
Yeah.
1981. Hell, they could have even done a reunion tour. That probably was in the books or in the cards, but we'll never know.
Yeah. Or at least a performance, or you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Something live, something to, yeah.
But all
We'll never
because
know. We'll never
some
know.
asshole, for whatever reason, he blames the Catcher in the Rye for his issues, but no.
I know.
And the thing that's even more creepy is Mark Chapman came across Sean Lennon in the park in like the summer, so that's even creepier. So
That is crazy.
he had been stalking John and his family for probably well over a year. And what's even creepier is he married a Vietnamese woman that kind of resembled Yoko Ono a little bit, which is weird.
That is weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Um,
Have you read Catcher in the Rye?
no, I have not. I know
Okay.
it was one of the books that I had to read during my summer reading, but I never did summer reading in high school. So
Okay.
yeah.
I read it when I was like 20, something like that. It was a little late, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the theory around it as far as
I know there
the.
was like a big hoopla about the book though when it first came out. Anyway.
Yeah, it was like the first anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say is your top 5 Beatles albums? Like that you, if you had to stop and listen to like these 5 albums, which ones would they be?
In no order, I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say. Gosh, I want to look at them. I want to be looking at all of them right now because I'm trying to think. Definitely Rubber Soul,
Mm-hmm.
Abbey Road, Let It Be, the White Album, and what's the one with All My Lovin' on there? Is it
That's
with the Beatles?
a hard day's night, or I think it was on that.
I think it's with the Beatles.
I think it was like a combination of both. Like it was the soundtrack album for A Hard Day's Night, but it did
Yes, for the soundtrack album. That's
debut
true.
on with the Beatles.
It's definitely in the movie, which I do have playing on my TV right now.
It is a
But
great
yeah,
movie.
It is. It is. I just finished it before the stream, but
Who's that little old man?
he's very clean. I love it. He's on screen right now. He's like yelling.
I did have the image of John Lennon with the Coke bottle doing that as my profile picture on Facebook for so long.
Oh my god. Yeah. Classic. Absolutely classic. But yeah, I think I'll put With the Beatles in there because it has that song. Is Yesterday on an album? Or was that like just a single?
Hold on. I'm looking it up.
By the way, have you seen Yesterday? That's a good question.
I have not. So Yesterday debuted as a single, but then it was released on the Help album.
Okay. That makes sense.
It does. Because it was like right around the same time.
Yeah.
As
64.
they were recording it.
It was like 65, I think.
So, yeah, it was first released on the Help album, and then it was made its U.S. album debut on Yesterday and Today. I guess that, yeah, it's a studio album. Yeah, I don't know. I've never listened to that album.
They're all different for US and UK, yeah. So it's very, yeah.
Because I'm like, did they have a song named Today that I've never heard of?
Oh man, but yeah, those will probably be my 5. What about you?
Well, my 5 would be, of course, Abbey Road, the White Album. Please Please Me. I do really enjoy that album.
That almost made it.
Help
on mine.
And Sgt. Pepper.
Okay. Yeah, Sgt. Pepper almost made mine, but we keep talking about A Hard Day's Night. I should have put that on there. Who knows? God. Yeah, I love them all. I really do.
Yeah, like the ranking changes of like the ones I listen to the most, and then it swaps albums sometimes. But there's never a time where I'm like, oh, I hate this song or this song sucks. There's never a time where I think that with the Beatles.
No, I've never thought that.
No, hey, Gus enjoys number ones.
Hey,
and he has it on vinyl.
There you go. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It is so good. And yeah, after I went through a bunch of stuff, I went back to this and just listened to it just over and over and over again. It was like it's such a just part of the soundtrack.
It's literally hit after hit. And you can see the progression of the musicians that they are, like from the early days, and seeing how they progress with how they do their music. And
I love
Movies and Train Studios.
Movies and Trains. What do you think of the song Day Tripper, Movies and Trains?
I really like Day Tripper. That was actually the first song I somewhat learned on guitar. I learned the main riff.
It's so iconic.
I learned the main riff to it, but I didn't learn the rest of it.
Right. Yeah, a friend of mine was like playing around with guitar a few years ago, and I was like, you should listen to Day Tripper. And then he sent me a recording of him playing the riff. I was like, yes. Yeah,
I learned the riff to Day Tripper, and I learned the intro to Norwegian Wood.
Oh, nice. Yes.
And
Paperback Writer is
Norwegian Wood's probably my favorite acoustic song of theirs, but also sitar.
Yeah.
Even though at the time George didn't know how to really play it, he was just messing with the strings and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love that.
Have you ever listened to the Traveling Wilburys?
I know a few of their songs, but no, I haven't like sat down and been like, let's do a deep dive.
Is there an FYE like near you?
Yeah.
Next time you're there, check and see if they have like the complete album set because they have a documentary DVD attached to it, and it shows you how they. George was just gonna make a song, and then it turned into a whole album. They were just
Nice.
hanging.
Of course
They were
they can.
just chilling with. He was just chilling with Jeff Lynne, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison. Tom Petty was in town, so he's like, "Hey,
Petty's like, hey, I'll join.
yeah."
Yeah. Yeah, they are awesome. I need to definitely get more into them for sure.
Now, when it comes to their solo stuff, which Beatle did you kind of follow more?
Paul, all the way. I'm such a Paul guy. I know most people say John Lennon, but
Yeah,
for me,
I was more of a Lennon guy. I mean, hell, at my school they had like Spirit Week, and one of the days was like Hippie Day. So I threw on. I had the John Lennon like um, army shirt that
you sent me the
he had.
photo. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wore that, wore the round sunglasses. Although it was funny because my teacher was like, it's kind of hard to tell whether my students are high or not because they're wearing sunglasses.
That's
uh,
awesome. But
oh,
yeah,
we got
Paul, I
Durant
have.
Cinema in here.
Hey,
We
what's
got
your favorite
Chris.
Beatles song, Dave and Chris?
He
Hey,
probably
Chris.
doesn't. Dave probably doesn't know any Beatles song.
I asked him. He said he knows a few, so we'll see what his favorite is.
Okay.
But yeah, I have so many Paul like in Wings. I have, of course, Band on the Run. Venus and Mars is
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Go. Have you listened to Venus and Mars?
I have not. I haven't listened to a whole lot of Paul's stuff,
I
but I
think if
will
you're gonna check out
say
anything,
the most recent clip I watched of Paul was him performing "I've Got a Feeling," and then towards the end, because they have the restored footage from the Get Back sessions, at the
yeah,
end, the screen shows John Lennon and he's singing the last bit of the song.
yeah, that's so cool. And we're gonna get into that whole like we both heard that he was gonna make like an album with John. I've heard something different now.
Yeah.
Um,
Chris's favorite is "Yesterday," which
hey,
hey, it's a great song.
it's a
Probably
fantastic
my
song.
favorite Paul song from the Beatles was probably "Blackbird."
Oh, incredible.
I just like the way the chords sound in that one. Like you can
Yeah.
really hear the strings in that one.
Hmm. Yeah, God, I don't know. So many amazing ones. Oh,
His favorite.
yeah, that was the Beatles for sure. It wasn't Bon Jovi or anything. But yeah, oh my God. But please check out Venus and Mars. It's just full of amazing songs.
I've definitely got into like checking out Paul stuff a lot more. Ringo, I'm
Yeah,
still slowly easing my way to.
me too. And yeah, it's like I
But if you
love
want to watch
Lennon
Old
too.
Thomas the Tank Engine, Ringo's the narrator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you
That,
knew that, but he was the narrator
I
for
did not.
Thomas the Tank Engine.
Wow. Um, but yeah,
And he was the
Ringo
main
and
character in Yellow Submarine.
yeah, he's almost the main character in A Hard Day's Night too. He has like so many scenes that are just him,
Yeah. I always
and
felt bad for Ringo.
especially in A Hard Day's Night, they bring so many things to light. They
Yeah.
like he's so short and he has a big nose and he's like everything. They just keep tearing him apart in this movie.
Yeah. But
Uh,
without Ringo inspiring all these drummers now,
oh, I know.
think of it. Like every drummer, from what I understand, they did a video not long ago, I think, with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where it's like a bunch of these drummers from like Green Day, Dave
Oh, I
Grohl
saw that.
was like,
Somebody
it's like,
sent me that the other day.
yeah,
Actually,
and it's like,
that wasn't you, was it?
it might have been.
Somebody sent me that video the other day. I was like, oh, that's crazy.
He said, "I suppose I'll go with Come Together. Take that as you will, but nah, it's a decent song. Decent, decent."
Oh my god. But okay, that works for me. But yeah, yeah, for me it's just Paul. I love the song "Mind Games" from John Lennon. I don't know if you know that one.
I love the music video for that one.
That is
Have
a
you
great
seen it?
video, and I
The
think
fact that
I
he could just
think
stroll
so.
through Central Park and nobody really bothered him is just fascinating.
Yeah,
And I want that
it's.
outfit he's wearing in that music video.
I'll have to go back and see what it is. Um, but yeah, he's so political. So I obviously protest songs, and he's just a little bit too political for me. So I can't get as much into John.
I can understand that.
Yeah, I wish I could. I want to, but I've tried, and I just can't really.
But at least at the time, he had the balls to say stuff. I'll give
Yeah,
him that.
exactly. I respect everything that he does and did and said and wanted to say. And
And those that are going to say, oh, he was a wife beater, fuck him. John Lennon has been very vocal of the shit he's done in his past. And he's only, whether it's true or not, he's said he's hit Cynthia once and he's never hit her again.
yeah.
Anyway, talking about the Beatles, Dave. What do you think's up? But yeah, it was definitely John I followed more. I would say definitely more when I was like 16, 17, more on the rebellious
Makes sense.
age. Power to the people, not to the man.
Yeah. Oh,
Stick it to the
exactly.
man.
Yeah.
But then I really started getting into George's stuff when I was 18. I really liked because I really like the sound of acoustic guitars. It's just really relaxing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he incorporated a lot of acoustic stuff. Again, didn't really listen to a whole lot of Ringo. Ringo was my mom's favorite Beatle. She loved Ringo. Well, she still loves
Lots
Ringo.
of the ladies did, yeah. But yeah, I have like probably like 6 or 7 Paul albums, and then I only have one of each from the other Beatles. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I'm trying. I have All Things Must Pass, and then I have Ringo's album Ringo.
Well, All Things Must Pass is probably my. If we're just talking music as a whole, All Things Must Pass is my favorite album in any kind of music. It's number one. It's number one for me.
Do you have like that box set CD? You probably don't, but I bought that.
I don't. I wanted it, but I missed out on it.
Nice. I ended up grabbing that, and I still haven't. I've heard the album, but I still haven't popped that in. So
it's such a great album, and of course, the song "All Things Must Pass" has a different meaning for me now. But it's one my dad listened to. He made a mixtape of George Harrison's like single stuff. And it's like that was number one because that was my dad's favorite. And then it was I Need You. Basically every favorite song of my dad's was on that CD.
Wow. That's cool. Mm-hmm. You have that CD or?
No. I wish I
But you remember.
I do.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. That's a good memory to have.
People won't know my favorites. It's Lil Vert, Uzi, Playboy, Carti, Lil Tecca.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not gibberish or anything. That made a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Are you like a Gen Z, right? Like I'm just
it's the kid from Instagram that I told you about.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he is Gen Z.
Yeah.
Right.
Dave said Gus wanted to go to the Taylor Swift concert, but you reserved a table at Olive Garden that night and couldn't make it in time.
Oh,
I mean, to be fair,
yeah.
I would go to Olive Garden over Taylor Swift.
I don't mind Taylor Swift, but I love Olive Garden, so
You
there
could
you
bring
go.
Olive Garden with you, and then you could
Yeah.
ask Taylor Swift if she wants to go to Olive Garden.
Do you want to sign my breadstick, Taylor Swift? That's what I could ask.
Sounds sexual.
I know.
You want to sign my mozzarella stick?
Oh my God. Wow. Is that a breadstick in your pocket? Or you're just happy to see Taylor Swift, you know?
Oh no, Dave. I've seen Drake Bell in concert and I'm proud of it. I wouldn't be too proud of it because Drake Bell kind of likes the younger kids.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dave was younger. It was probably like 2007 or something.
Yeah. No, it was last year.
Really?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Oh God, I was gonna say like.
Oh no. Gus said, Larin, if you like Olive Garden, you can lose my digits.
Ooh. Oh,
But
my
Gus,
God.
I like Olive Garden, and I'm letting you be on my Star Wars watch along next week.
Oh man.
Anyway, we're
Yeah,
getting off topic. Where were
we
we
could just
with
do a
Beatles?
whole Olive Garden stream, you know?
We could. Oh no, Gus just broke up with Black.
Oh, I know that kind of broke my heart a little bit. I was like, oh no.
Oh yeah, we were talking about my dad's mixtape, and
Yeah.
I do wish I still had it, but with YouTube and stuff, I can just make a set list that was basically a copy of.
Okay. You can remember a lot of what was on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can.
Was solo stuff, and then a few of the Beatles stuff, and actually there was quite a few stuff from the concert for George. Have you ever seen that concert?
Oh, yeah. I have not all of it, but I've seen most of it. Yeah, and I think it's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's such a great concert. Like,
it's amazing. Yeah,
for a tribute concert, like it was fantastic. And then, of course, Danny is a younger version of his dad, which
I
mean, Julian was basically a carbon copy of John. He looked a lot like John.
Yeah,
well,
true.
Looks a lot like John.
Yeah, Julian and Sean both do, really.
Yeah.
But
I was still
George
holding out hope that there was a rumor like years ago that the kids of the Beatles were gonna form a band.
I know, I heard that.
And it was gonna be called "Here Come the Suns," which I mean that's kind of clever.
There's no way that's gonna happen.
No, as much as I would love it, at the same time, it's like I don't know if it would work because they would just be compared to their dads.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't think they would like. Obviously, Danny's gonna get compared to George a lot because he looks and sounds exactly like him. It's scary.
He famously told Danny, he was like, "You look like more like me than I do."
Yeah.
He really does. It's amazing.
Have you listened to some of Danny's stuff? It's actually pretty good.
I haven't. I have not. I should. He was on Conan a few years ago, and Conan told his story where they were hanging out, and he just throws him a guitar, and it's like an old like a Rickenbacker. And he's like, just throw me this historical thing. Just like threw it to him across the room. He's like, oh my God. It just casually throws me this piece of history. Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I should check out some of his stuff for sure. I want to.
Yeah. Julian just recently got back into music. He was doing a lot of photography stuff. But trying to think of some other stuff we could talk about because we kind of covered a lot.
We did. But God, what's the last album you listened to?
The last Beatles album I listened to?
Mm-hmm.
That
Like all the way
would be
through.
Revolver, because they just put out the vinyl.
You know what? I love Revolver as
It is
well.
really good.
I'm Only Sleeping is one of the best songs ever.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. That's a great song. It's a great album.
It is.
Um,
Well, Dave saw Jared Leto twice.
oh, he met him. Wow,
Wow, met him.
that's cool.
Met
That's
met
very
him
cool.
and saw him twice. Live twice.
Nice.
Nice.
That's awesome. Mm. What's the last band you saw live?
That was,
to go completely off subject. Yeah.
well, that was Green Day, and that was like 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironically, a stadium concert.
You know what? I do have a story to tell.
Okay, what's your story?
A few years ago, I met Weird Al Yankovic,
I think you told me about this story.
and I met him, and we were in line. I got my picture taken with him, and I was like, "What am I gonna say?" When he's like, I had him sign my poster and shit, and I was like, "What am I gonna say?" And I asked him, I said, "What's your favorite Beatles song?" And he said, "Everybody's got something to hide except for me and my monkey," which fits perfectly with Weird Al. I was like, wow. I was like, you mind if we sing a little bit of that together? And we did a duet of the chorus of that song. He started at the beginning. That's my only regret, is he like went right into the beginning and I went into the chorus, but he corrected, and we sang the whole chorus together, and I had like 90 seconds with him, and I sang, awesome. I duetted the Beatles with Weird Al. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a highlight of my celebrity meetings, which is only like 2 or 3 ever. So, yeah.
Dave's asking you if you saw the Weird Al movie that they did.
I did not see that because it was on like was it on like Roku or something?
I think they put it in theaters. Thought they did.
Well, not. I don't think they did it near me, but they just put out like a foreign, like a Blu-ray from the UK or something, which I also haven't seen. But I do have a secret to tell. Somebody put it on a flash drive for me, so I got to check that out.
Oh well, there you go.
I do have it. I am gonna watch it soon. They just were like, "Oh, here, I have this flash drive with a few movies on it." I was like, "Thank you." So I am gonna watch that. Daniel Radcliffe, right? That one. Yeah. I do have that. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
All right. Because we were talking about it a little bit before we went live about the Elvis biopic.
I have this giant Beatles anthology book too that's enormous. Yes. And it's super thick.
Thick with 2 C's.
Oh, fuck yeah.
If they did a Beatles biopic, would you want it to cover their entire history, or would you want it towards the end? And then it goes into their solo stuff, and it goes into like the feud between John and Paul with their first like few albums and stuff.
Don't make a Beatles biopic, is what I say.
But if they did,
I don't want a Beatles biopic.
But
if they did, I don't know. I don't want them to do that. I have no idea. I wouldn't want to see it, to be honest. I probably would. It'd be one of those movies where I'm like, I'm good. Mm-hmm. But you should watch Yesterday, because they kind of explore some of that stuff, and not with anyone, but it's about this guy. You know the plot of that movie?
I already know about the resurrection cameo.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much all they do.
Yeah,
that's good enough for me. You know what I mean? That's all I really need to see. I don't need any more than that. But yeah, he's the only person on earth who knows who the Beatles are, and yeah, it's a good movie. It's like the feel-good movie of 2019 is what I was saying at the time. But you should check that out. What about you? What would you want to see? Did you? And here's my question to you. Would you want
Yeah.
half the movie to be black and white if it was that era, and then it goes to color after a certain point?
I think it would be, if they did do it in the early days, have it black and white when they're being filmed, have it in color when they're like away from like the stage and stuff like that.
Right. All right.
I think it would be smart to do it that way, because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's how they did it with Oppenheimer, where it was like in color was like the point of view, and then in black and white it was like on TV and stuff like that.
Did you see that?
No, but I saw like a theory of like that perspective and stuff like that.
I didn't see that either. I'm supposed to see it like next week or something. But
I see it in IMAX and have the front row seat.
I hope to see it in IMAX.
In the front row though, like the 70 millimeter, like directly in the front row. Yeah.
No, I hope not.
Dead center in the movie theater.
In the front, when I'm just like watching it.
Well, that way when the bomb goes off.
Yeah, I'm oh, talk about knocking my socks off. I'll tell you what.
You'll knock something off.
I wish they were playing that in 70 millimeter near me. They're not.
Yeah, I'm too old to want to. It has to be a good movie to make me want to sit through 3 hours. Like, yeah, I know Christopher Nolan's great, but I already know the story of Oppenheimer, and I know the ending. Kind of goes boom.
Right. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know. I do want to see it. I like long movies, and I'm up for a long theater experience.
Yeah.
Because there's nobody in there that's.
I'll probably just wait for the 4K.
Yeah. Yeah, they're extending the IMAX though, so hopefully when I go, I can still see the IMAX. That'd be good.
Dave, you snitch. Caling cops on YouTube. What they going do?
Caling cops. I have this this playbill for the Hateful Eight that I saw on 70 millimeter. That's nice. From the show, from the Roadshow version. Pretty rare.
That's cool.
Anyway, it was the perfect segue to that.
Well, I appreciate that, Jared.
Oh, he said you're never too old to do what? I'm
just said you were never too old.
Oh, just generally?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh. I appreciate that too.
But
Jared's very young though.
But on the inside, I feel like how Palpatine looks.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah.
That's
how I feel.
Have you seen the original Palpatine? What he looked like in the original?
Yeah, the monkey, and then it was a woman with a baboon face on her face.
Was it? Well, it was just like a weird looking old man, I thought, or something like that. It was
It was a
very
woman
weird.
with like baboon face like put on her.
Okay. I'll see that when we do the watch-alongs for those. I don't own the special editions, so I'll probably be off a little bit in time. I don't know how he re-edited those, but it'll be fun.
With Empire Strikes Back, that's probably the best one with the special editions because they actually added Ian McDiarmid in for the Emperor stuff, so it kind of makes more sense.
Oh, wow! I like being able to say that I've never seen those though.
I'm 14 youngs and are what?
I'm 14. I'm 14 as well. Yes.
Yeah.
People don't know.
With all this facial hair, I am 15.
I am very young. That's all I'll say.
I am 12. But
was that a reference to Benchwarmers by chance?
It was.
Give myself a round of applause on that one.
I saw that in theaters.
Nice. I saw it on like DVD. I rented it a lot back in the day.
But the reason why I went and saw it in theaters was, one, my brother wanted to see it, but also I love Napoleon Dynamite, and I'm like, great, he's in another movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was in like School for Scoundrels as well, like right around that time, which is a pretty decent movie there. I recall.
Jared, I guess I'm 13.
He's not sure. He's not really sure. He just had a birthday, but
technically, if I reverse my age, I am 13.
oh my god,
just,
yeah.
So you're just 3.
Well, you know what? I had my birthday yesterday.
Oh, so you are 13.
I am 13.
Happy belated birthday. I'm sorry I didn't say it to you yesterday.
Thank you. No, it's okay. But yes, do you think that George Harrison's the gravedigger, and then
absolutely, George is the
John's the pallbearer?
Yeah, John's the priest.
Oh, right. Yes.
Ringo's the pallbearer, and Paul's dead.
And he's got the nail in the coffin in his right hand, and it's a cigarette.
Born in December 6th, 2008.
Very, very young.
Yeah. That was the same year Star Wars The Clone Wars came out.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Wow. That's cool. What was that kid's name again? Just so I can remember for the future.
I don't actually know his name.
Well, his handle. What's his handle? So I can
the World JB 103.
Okay. Got it.
I don't want to reverse my age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the same year Star Wars The Clone Wars came out. 15
You're young
years
too,
ago.
Tony. God, it's crazy. Time flies.
It really does.
Time definitely flies. Yeah, I was a teenager when I picked up this album, and now I've had it for many, many moons. And they've remastered it and put it out again, and I still have this version. And
did you pick up the Love album that they put out when they did the collab with Cirque du Soleil?
No. And I never heard it.
Good. It's the remixes of a lot of the songs, like, they were actually really well done. Like, specifically like Revolution, like, you could really like hear like the heavy hit of the drums and stuff like that.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you know what Let It Be Naked is? What's the difference between Let It Be and Let It Be Naked?
I have no idea.
Okay. I know because I've seen it around and I'm like, what is the difference? I don't know. Oh, but I did want to get into
Let It Be Naked.
Yes, look that up.
Released, is an alternative mix of the Beatles' 1970 album Let It Be, released on November 17th, 2003. The project was initiated by Paul McCartney, who felt that the original album's producer, Phil Spector, did not capture the group's stripped-down live-to-tape aesthetic intended for the album. Naked consists largely of newly mixed versions of the Let It Be tracks, while omitting the excerpts of incidental studio chatter and most of Spector's embellishments. It also omits 2 tracks from the 1970 release, Dig It and Maggie May, replacing them with Don't Let Me Down, which was the non-album B-side of the Get Back single.
Okay.
So it's just a second version of it with just the unedited
nice
version.
That sounds cool, though. Sounds cool. I might check that out.
I'm fun. I'm superhero.
Good. That is very good.
I'm Iron Man here in 2008.
That is.
You're a superhero? You don't know, Tony.
Hey, you don't know, Tony. You have no idea.
Exactly. You don't know,
if
Tony.
He's Iron Man in 2000. You don't know. But So I saw this interview with Ringo the other day, and he was saying that by the way, that album, it wasn't called an album, it's called a record, and it's just one song, apparently, where Paul wants to put AI John Lennon into the song, but it's not fully AI. It's just them taking a recording that is beyond repair, like it's totally messed up, and just taking what's already there and making it, like something you could actually listen to, while putting Ringo in on drums, putting all the original tracks back in, but the stuff that they couldn't put back in. And I guess it's just one song that he's putting back, making this lost recording something that we can actually listen to through AI, and then having Ringo come back and actually play on it. So they're all going to be, so that's actually pretty cool. It's not just an AI track or an AI full album of AI Beatles music, which is what I initially had thought.
Yeah, I'm good with it being a one-off song.
And it's a song that they actually recorded. It's not just some.
Well, it's a song John. It was a song John recorded.
It
was originally supposed to be on one of his albums, or he scrapped it. I think it's Now and Then or something like that.
Okay, so you did a little research on this too, because recently we were like,
because it was supposed to be on the anthology album, but George said it was trash. So
okay, it probably was. No, but just the recording, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not the actual song, but apparently, yeah. So I don't know. I'll listen to it. I'll see what it's all about.
I can be live streams womb.
You sure can.
I wish can be live stream with you guys, but family in my house. I mean, I would assume your family is in your house.
Yeah. That is.
Jared said, if I reverse my age, I'm old.
You're calling us old. You are calling us old, and that's fine.
Jared's 24, so that would, if you reverse it,
is Jared 24? Is he 24?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. Anyway, we're not that old. I thought Jared was 23. And then he would have been saying.
He was 23 at one point.
Yeah, true. Very, true. Very recently, apparently. Yeah.
I'm curious how the song will turn out, but I'm still very skeptical of AI technology, because there's 6 movies of why we shouldn't trust AI. Specifically, 2 good movies of why we shouldn't.
I know what those 2 movies are, and I completely agree.
Yeah. A third okay movie, but the other ones not so much.
Which one?
3.
Salvation? Oh.
Rise of the Machines.
Okay.
That's why I said it was okay.
I haven't seen that since like 2003 or something when that came out.
I liked it because the boobs grew in the movie, and
and she like walks naked across the street.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. I remember that. That's like all I remember.
That you saw.
I think he had like the sunglasses,
Salvation was
weird.
Okay for what it was. I was expecting more of the bleak future that was shown to us, but not bright and sunny.
I didn't see that, so I don't know. I've only seen the first 3.
Basically, AI is a gift and a curse. I'd say more of a curse.
I'd say so too. I don't like it.
What you guys' favorite hip hop music of all time? I'm not really into hip hop, to be completely honest.
Me neither. No. It's like we're doing a Beatle stream, We're
not.
I'm not. I can't. I don't think I should comment on that. I don't know. Not sure.
But Larin, I don't. What was the last band you saw in concert? When was it?
It was Weird Al, and it was August 30th of 2019. Yep. But before that, it was John Carpenter.
My next concert's next month.
It wasn't John Carpenter. It was Silver Scream Con. But it was Alice Cooper. That is who I saw before that.
How was he in concert?
It was really fun, man. It was really good. Great stage show, and No More Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah. He did like all the classics. It was it was a fun time for sure.
The Hollywood Vampires came to my city like not too long ago, and I'm like, fuck, if I knew they were coming, I would have got tickets for it.
Yeah, that's a super group right
It was like the night that their concert was. So I'm like, God damn it.
Is when you found out?
Yeah. That they were in Boston.
Damn. Yeah, they'd be really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
You got Cooper, Joe Perry, Johnny, and is there another, or is that it? Their fourth guy?
What did you name already?
Cooper, Alice Cooper, Joe Perry. Joe Perry of Aerosmith.
Yeah. I think Keith Richards. I think he was in there.
No, really? That'd be crazy. That'd be insane.
Let me double check.
Okay. that would be mind blowing if I didn't already know that. And I named everybody but Keith Richards. That would be crazy.
Because Keith Richards was the inspiration for Jack Sparrow. And he was actually
true.
A couple of the Pirates movies.
Yeah, Paul was in the last one.
Yeah, he was. Keith Richards is not in Hollywood Vampires. It's Tommy.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Henriksen.
I don't know who that is. Don't know who that is. Either.
But he was. He worked a lot with Alice Cooper, which makes sense.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. It'd be weird if he was in there and I knew everybody but Keith Richards. That would have been like, it would have blew my fucking mind. I would have been like, oh my God, are you serious? Keith Richards. Yeah, but yeah, they'd be really fun to see too. But yeah, what was you already said, didn't you?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Green Day like 10 years ago.
And then Ice Nine Kills next month, and then in October, Motionless in White with Dave as a birthday gift.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it's actually like 2 days before Halloween, so that works out even better. Especially with Motionless in White. I don't know if you've seen like their image, but it works for Halloween.
I haven't, but I assume they're like horror-esque. Yeah.
They're not so much horror-esque, just like heavy metal. Lots of makeup, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jared has never been to a concert.
That's okay. I was a late bloomer on concerts as well.
Would you count orchestral concerts as like? Are we talking concert like rock bands or like orchestral stuff as well?
Anything. Actually, it's funny you should say that because Weird Al had an orchestra, like a live orchestra with him.
Because if we're counting that, then the last concert I went to was last year, and that was Return of the Jedi live in concert.
Just a random orchestra from near you?
So we went down to Georgia, and they showed the movie, and the band was playing the music for the movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it was the Atlantic Symphony Orchestra, and they killed it. There was like times where they sounded exactly like the music does in the movie. I'm like, okay, they did really well.
That's so cool.
If you go to concerts, you will catch Dave 19. Is that another variant of COVID?
That's like COVID. That's a strain.
Because I'm going to the Ice Nine Kills concert and Motionless in White concert with Dave. So, what is that? Gus, I already like Olive Garden.
You will start liking Olive Garden. That's interesting. Oh, if you hang out with Dave, got it. You already do though.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been there more times than my entire life recently. Over like the past year, I've been there like 6 or
It's a
7
great
times
place.
probably. It is. It is. I feel like, I'm family when I'm there, and they just,
Vin Diesel pops up and is like, family.
family. And then he's like, I am Groot, and then he runs off.
He dives out the window.
Yep.
But
Oh my
yeah,
God.
to kind of wrap up the podcast a little bit, just give your final like favorite things of the Beatles, memories of like your dad and stuff like that, if you want.
Gosh. Probably one of his biggest regrets of his childhood was not being able to take those albums from her and to have them.
Mhm.
But yeah, I remember discussing with him the various conspiracy theories, not so much the Paul is dead one, but other weird things going on with them, and just him just being like, I don't care about any of this. He really just didn't. He was just like not interested in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the Beatles. I love to just sit and chill and just listen to the entire White Album. Like I did that so many times. Um, I've had this shirt since like 2014 or something, and that was
Mhm.
right around the time that I would just listen to the White Album over and over again, and then Beatles One over and over again. It was right
Mhm.
around I was like 2022, and I was just obsessed. And I don't know, it's been awesome. And luckily, I was not dating anyone at the time, so I don't attribute any of the love songs to
Oh, I
any
don't either.
particular love interest of my past. I am so glad I don't. Yeah. So
But for
that's
me, I always think of my dad when I listen to the Beatles. It was one of my favorite things to do is listen to the songs with him. Just talk to him about music in general. He loved music, and
oh hi.
he knows I'm getting slightly emotional. So,
Oh,
but yeah, it's stuff I'll never forget with my dad, and it's something that's made Larin and I closer with, unfortunately, this connection. Um, but the way I look at it is they may no longer be here, but they are still with us in our memories, just the stories we tell,
our
and
hearts.
in our hearts.
Yeah.
And thank you, Larin, for joining me tonight. And all you guys in the comments, even you, the world, JB103, come together almost like Guardians of the Galaxy music, favorite song of them. Huh? Come Together wasn't in any of the Guardians movies, but okay.
No. But no,
um,
thank you for having me, man. It's always a blast to be here. And I do look forward to Star Wars. I look forward to anything that you have going on, and I'm so glad to talk to you as always.
yeah. Be sure to tune in next week. I've been putting it off a lot, and with Ahsoka coming out, I've been really wanting to watch Star Wars, especially with those who aren't well versed in the world of Star Wars like I am. So I'm curious to see how people react to specific things, and like if they have questions that I can be like, hey, this is what this means.
Yes.
And it'll be a lot of fun. And as always, keep listening to music, keep putting out great music, and love one another. And
Oh, for sure. Yes.
never be afraid to say you love your friends. I love Larin. I love Dave. I love Tony. I love Mizzy and Gus and so many of
As
my
do I.
friends.
As do I. You
And
know, I'm very vocal with the love yous.
I know. But other than that, thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you later.